I said to him, do you think Brandwatch is the best social media monitoring tool, and do you want some cake? And my 2-year-old said yes. So, I am here from Brandwatch. Brandwatch are a competitor of Sysmos, who we've heard from Ross earlier. We do social media monitoring, well, which means we download the whole of the internet every day, or every second of the day. Twitter, Facebook, blogs, forums, news. We look for you, your brand, your company, your competitors, your industry, and we get those mentions, we throw the rest away, we present that to you in a dashboard that allows you to look at what people are saying about you, your brand, your competitors, etc. So I'm going to spend about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, awkwardly getting my computer plugged in, then another 2 minutes showing you what we do, and then a final 2 minutes showing you some stuff that's relevant to Christmas. So bear with me while I just plug my computer in. I have to do this because the presentation's got a bit of video in it, and it doesn't really work unless you use my computer.
Meanwhile, here is some music. Carry on, Brian. We're
Can you sing
trying to guess the tune.
Christmas
Girl
songs.
from Ipanema or something like that.
Someone sing a Christmas song.
to Agadoo.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm just going to put this up. Probably that. And this.
Very good. I thought we were going to get a bit of Eric Sykes since he
There you
died
go.
yesterday.
So, the problem you get when you download all of social media is that you have a lot of junk. Most of social media is dull. About 80% of what you'll read, if you're a brand owner, isn't going to be interesting. Another problem you have is you have a lot of interference and noise. It's very difficult to figure out what's being said. So in a high-tech, we're a tech company, of course, a high-tech way. I got our office in Brighton. There's about centre of us there. We've also got an office in New York and Germany to tell me, as an example, what film they wanted to watch. So this is what they said, and this is why there's a problem with social media. It takes a few seconds to warm up. Oh, hang on. So I'll do that again, and you'll see that it won't be much different. You'll not be able to understand what they said. So they kind of fumbled around. Everyone said what their favourite film was, or the film they wanted to go and see, and no one could hear because it was just too garbled. So what Brandwatch does is we allow you to separate to whatever categories, whatever kind of types of conversation you want. And so it's the equivalent of doing this to make it a bit more kind of meaningful. They said Piranha 3D, Double D, American Pie Reunion, none, they didn't watch the cinema, Dark Shadows, and Avengers Assembles. Interesting, the salespeople said Piranha 3 Double D, the women in the office all said the Johnny Depp movie, and the geeks all said Avengers Assemble. And our tool indeed can do that, can separate it out and show you the demographics. It's not particularly meaningful, I guess, in that case, 'cause it was pretty obvious what they'd say. We get rid of spam, which is a real problem in social media because people pretend, or computers pretend they're real. So that's getting rid of spam. There's kind of an escalating war of spam. Companies who produce spam, or people who produce spam, get their own army of people just out of university and teenagers to code lots of spam, and so we've got our army of teenagers to try and beat them. So it's an everlasting war, really, between people who are very good at coding. Of course, with social media, you can also drill down. So let's look at why people liked Avengers Assemble. Oh, I've gone too far. So this is what we said about why you liked Avengers Assemble. One last try. Technology's going to fail me, is it? They liked superhero films. They thought review was good. They weren't too sure. They liked the trailer, and he liked Joss Whedon. I'm sure you'll just really fancy one of the female stars of it. And so what Brandwatch does is it can do that for anything. So the films you've got here, this is a few screenshots which you won't be able to see, it's too far away, but this big block here is Avengers Assemble, and then the pie shows you the percentage. You can drill down into that and look at it over time, so you can see the Avengers Assemble has really picked up, and a lot of film studios and games companies and other people who produce a really exciting brand see how quickly the interest is going up to predict sales or predict what's going to happen when they actually launch. So, and you could have done that with Avengers Assemble. This point here is when they launched their first viewable trailer. This point here was when they had some stills, and so you can see how the excitement builds, and you can predict how many people you think will go and see the film or buy the product or whatever. Most people were positive. You could see who the top sites were. You can see who the top people were. In this case, it was Chris Miles. We get Cred, which is integrated to our tool. You heard from Andrew earlier. Also Clout and Peer Index. And then you can draw down and find out what people say. So the reason in the general population they like Avengers Assemble is that they like the cast or crew member. So I'm going to come on to an example from Christmas now, and then I'm going to finish. So I'm going to try and do my 2 minutes of everything. Do you remember last year's Littlewood's advert? It was one where they had a nativity scene, and the children started breaking into rap, and they talked about how their mother had bought them the presents and put them under the tree. It was... yes, exactly. So I thought it'd be good. So this is the word cloud. You can get word clouds from the tool that they had at the time. So there's a bit of cute, laugh out loud, wicked love, but there was a lot of negativity around, and it wasn't the most popular brand. So I just thought I'd explain. We've got all this data from Brandwatch, so I thought I'd explain to you what Brandwatch tells us about that advert. And I'm going to do it in some dull numbers. So we weren't actually tracking it actively, we just picked up incidentally. We've got the Twitter fire hose. We found 6,000 tweets on it. We went to the Facebook page and downloaded the Facebook page and found that the Facebook page of Littlewoods had 150 posts on the wall, and their blog had 198 comments on. So the social media team from Littlewoods were absolutely overwhelmed. In 1 month, for instance, November, interestingly, they ran it from the 17th of October, and on the 25th of November, some 8 weeks later or 7 weeks later, was when it hit the press and the newspapers all carried the story. So they knew for 7 weeks they were in trouble, and they didn't pull it. And their social media team was in trouble from the start because they had, this, 3 or 4. The social media team didn't come up with it, but they had 3 or 4 angry posts, every working hour of the day for a good couple of weeks before it got to newspapers. And they were saying, we're very sorry, we'll pass your feedback on, thank you, we didn't mean to upset anybody. The reasons people were upset were, just to reiterate, it said Santa didn't exist in a sort of a roundabout way. It kind of devalued father's role, and it was a bit over-commercialised. In time of austerity, it's unlikely you're going to want to buy your brother-in-law an HTC smartphone, but that was the kind of thing it was advocating. So the red numbers here, 85%, 60% and 500 plus, I've got to remember what they are now. 85% of the things on Facebook were just hatred-filled, loathing. They loathed it. They were very angry. 62% of tweets were very negative. And then 500 plus was how many complaints the ASA had. It was the record number. So last year's record, most number of complaints against an advert was Littlewoods' Christmas advert. The next set of numbers, 15%, 35% and 0, are actually that some people did like it, incredibly. 15% of Facebook posts were defending the brand. 35% of tweets were positive, saying, we really like this. And 0 is the action that both the ASA took, and 0 was also the action that Littlewoods took. They basically kept playing the ads. And 9% is what their year-on-year sales were at the end of the Christmas period. So I'm not quite sure what this means. Either they were smart and they'd looked at social media and figured out that 15% and 35% of people liked the advert, and actually when you looked at the demographics using Brandwatch of those people who liked the advert, they matched the demographics of Littlewoods' target market, and they thought, you know what, we'll stick the advert on. Or they just thought, no, publicity's bad publicity, we'll just ride it out. And in either case, I think 9% year-on-year sales is a good result for them. Whether their brand will survive longer term isn't clear. They are a privately traded company, so we don't know their results after that 9% was sent out. What I do know is that the social media teams were really inundated. Social media team were really inundated, and it was heavily criticised at the time for them basically sending out repeat messages that were very vague and very boring, and felt not genuine for the people who were complaining. So if you find yourself in a digital position where you're being criticised, I guess it's a good case study that they were largely ignored the social media people. They rode the storm and they kind of did well in the sales. Good. I'm back in light. And that's really all I want to say. I want to be quick because I know we've had a long session. I'm happy to take any questions, but the idea of what you can do with social media tools, Brandwatch or our competitors, is get data about what's going on in a live campaign, or indeed get information about you, your competitors, what's being said, and you can act on it. So that's all I had. Thank you very much.